This is Stu Strauss, the Woodsman, and you're listening to Inspirado, Projecto.
I'm going up to the train station. I'm taking a healthy jaunt over to Lawrence August's place. He's going to be driving me up to Hermosa Beach tonight. Tomorrow is a big event that his stepbrother Tony is putting together. His stepbrother Tony has been working strong, I would say, over the past 10 years and more, on a program called Operation Tone Up. And it's this program at schools to get kids healthy, eating right, figuring out, taking a look at nutrition facts. It's a sensation sweep in the nation. They've done this at a lot of schools. He's gotten a lot of news, a lot of coverage on this thing. And yet, still somehow he says it's not generating much of an income, I guess. But there's a website where it's kind of like a video game, and the schools, they pay for access to it, and the kids get like a password. They go onto this thing. They go onto something called Knowledge Island. And all over Knowledge Island, there are various places that you can go on it, that you can click on. It's an adventure. And so there are various characters that represent certain food groups. There's ice water. There's Carby, who is carbohydrates. There's a bunch of them. And so there are all these cartoon characters on the website. You get to know these cartoons characters and everything, and so they issue these challenges at these schools. And so these kids at the schools, they compete against each other with fitness and all this stuff. Now, on the website, they can interact with it because they're learning about nutrition. There's a drag and drop workout. One about push-ups, one for sit-ups, all this stuff. And you can kind of drag and drop your workout, and each one has its own video. So you can watch the video while you're working out. So you're, in a sense, you're working out along with the videos. And it's really interesting. So this year, I think they did one last year too. This year, it's out in Hermosa Beach. I don't know if, what the whole situation is, how big this thing is going to be. It sounds pretty enormous. I guess kids from all over the country come in to be a part of this. And so yeah, they want me to do camera work there. So I'll be doing some cameras tonight for this crazy event. And he's going to bring 2 cameras, so I can have one that's set up on a tripod, and then the other one I'm going to sort of like have handheld and kind of move around that way. Roving camera operator, if you will. So that'll be fun and interesting. He was asking me for pointers on how to get more eyes on it, get more people taking a look at it. So I gave him some ideas and suggestions that I've seen work with Yachtly Crew and a little bit with Kapow and some other projects. So I told him that I would do my best, to plant the seed wherever I can, and in areas where I think people would be interested in coming across such information, and where people already love that kind of information. So that could be Facebook groups, that could be Facebook pages, anything that has to do with kids' health, fitness, family. I'm sure there's some family health, family exercise pages. You just plant it in there and see how they take to it. So we're gonna see what happens today. I'll most likely broadcast some more while we are on the bus, as there will undoubtedly be plenty of material to flow through at that point. So, having said that, we will talk more later. And goodbye. Wowzers. I ended up missing that first bus. So, I took the second bus. There's a 26 minute wait, so I decided to stop at a coffee bean, and while I was in there, I had one of those cold pressed coffees, which is like 30% more caffeine than a regular cup of coffee. So I had that, and went back. He was talking on the phone. They talking with Vince, actually, my buddy Vince. And I went back across the street and was talking with him, and then I realized, and I was about to get my notebook to see stuff, and I realized, oh my god, my notebook's in my bag. Oh my god, my bag is still in that coffee bean. So luckily, I was only across the street. Ran back and I got my bag untouched, unscathed. That was awesome. So then I get on the bus. I go to pay for my bus fare, and it turns out I didn't have any money on it. The guy kind of looks like Stanley, the bus driver. He was cool about letting me stay on the bus, so that was really, really cool. That was really cool. He said, just make sure it's, you got fare on it next time. And I said, okay, for sure. I thought I had at least one more ride on my tap card. So I was on the phone with Vince, and Vince has some great ideas. This is the thing, folks. Surround yourself with people. When you get off the phone, you go, wow, that was a hearty conversation. That was a hearty, informative, enlightening, exciting, encouraging, inspiring conversation. It'd be nice to be able to get off the phone with every person you talk to and be able to say that and to feel that way. Imagine if you were that person. We have that potential to be that person to someone else. How cool is that? We have that potential. We have the potential to be the person who inspires someone. When they get off the phone, they feel good about themselves. Someone that we talked to on the phone, and he said, tell me about your passions, tell me about your dreams, what you like doing, and what are some of your favorite hobbies, etc., etc., etc. And then finding out about him and going, let's explore that. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? So funny. My old department manager, Greg, he's got a buddy. Anytime I talk to him on the phone, he's my former apartment manager. He'll call me up. He's usually just down in the dumps, talking about some other terrible thing that's going on. And then he usually supplements it with some stories of his, I feel like I've told this story already. I'll save it for another, okay. So he's always talking about his good old days of working, touring with Bo Diddley and all these people. He was in a Beatles tribute band. He played Ringo in a Beatles tribute band. So this guy has toured a lot. I mean, one of the guys he toured with, it was just him and this other guy who was a great guitarist. Was a friend of his, and he's like, Greg, I'm 60 years old. I'm out there touring. You should be out there playing drums. You should be out there playing drums. And I'm like, Greg, it sounds to me like that's what you really need to do. You're always reminiscing about the good old days. You sound miserable. I said, we can either die with a whole buttload of regrets and looking back on our life and going, I spent a majority of my life complaining about how I wish my life was different. I need to go to die that way, or And let's say you're struggling. He's struggling right now, financially. So either struggle financially and not do what we love doing, find excuses to not do what we love doing, or we struggle financially and at least use that as the saving grace, as they say. Use that as the energizer, using our passions and talents as the energizer, as the thing that wakes us up. And inspires us, gets us rocking and rolling. So I said, it sounds to me, Greg, you know, this is a message from the universe talking to you, saying, hey man, you got the buddy who's trying to get you involved, you got your friend, you know, encouraging you, maybe it's time to do something. What's interesting was, right when I started saying that, all of a sudden he's like, okay man, well, I'll talk to you later. You know, he just hung up right away. So it's interesting how a lot of folks when they're confronted with that possibility of really diving into their passions and talents, they shrink. You know, they just melt. Even when there's a path that's laid out from them, like just walk along here, walk along this path. Here's this great stuff that inspires you. So, I encourage you, put yourself on the phone or find friends, use meetup groups, use Facebook groups. Find a way to get into communities with people who encourage one another, love unapologetically to do what you love doing, and people you can share that experience with. Find those people. Talk to them on the phone. Be inspired. Be inspired. More later.
This podcast is Dino Night.
So wait, when was this you squeegeed your whole car?
Oh, it was last summer. Hey, look at that. That's
Yeah.
cool. I got a microphone.
So how long did it take for you to do it then?
About 18 minutes. It's a Corolla SR 586.
Mm-hmm.
She's a cherry. I got her with
She's a cherry.
Yeah, I got her with 90.
A shiny one she is.
98,000 miles on that puppy.
Wow,
30-year-old
dude.
car, man. I'm telling
Dude, that's incredible. Yikes. It looks like the DeLorean's next door neighbor.
It kind of is. I was thinking of dressing it up like a DeLorean for Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I could go as Marty McFly and
Yeah.
time travel this thing.
And maybe just so people know.
Maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll take the car to 1957 Halloween as the DeLorean.
Oh, so you're saying so when you were squeegeeing this was on a Halloween, you say?
No, it wasn't. But I was thinking of actually dressing up my car like a DeLorean.
Oh, that's right, yeah, and then take it back then on a Halloween.
On a Halloween,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
She's ready for flight, man. 1.21 gigawatts.
Well, I'm thinking, just so people know,
Yeah.
you could put a bumper sticker on there that says, "This is powered by a flux capacitor," just so people know it's the next door neighbor of the DeLorean.
It could be. It could very well be that. Maybe a give no flux capacitor.
Oh, I like that.
No flux given.
No flux given.
No.
That's good.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I like that microphone there. That's
It gets everything.
It looks like it's.
I can hear your organs
He's got a
moving
fair
with this
amount
one.
He's still got a fair amount of control, and it looks like you could. Looks like you could maybe apply a nice coat of blush to the.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you how many looks I get from people in the street when they see me with this. Some kids, I was in Chinatown, they're like,
oh, fucking hey, man, no way, that is dope shit, man. And he was like pointing at my microphone.
You're the man on the scene. You're the man on the streets. You're the man with the plan. You're the man no one can beat.
That's right.
Gas prices are crazy, by the way. I don't know what's going on, but I'm paying for the bad stuff today.
Well, maybe
I'm looking at $3.80 per gallo.
Well, maybe
for the bad. For the bad stuff.
I wonder what Vincent Gallo is thinking of how expensive the gallows are.
He probably doesn't think about any of that.
To the gallows!
He's just probably getting some young starlet to, you know.
Yeah, for his next movie.
Okay, so we're going mobile?
So I wonder if, like, growing up he heard, to the gallows, a lot. And then people got scared thinking that they're going to take him to the gallows to get hung, but really they're just going to the gallows, the Vincent Gallo family Christmas party or whatever.
Do you remember that guy? I used to know a guy named Gallo.
Oh my God, you did know a Gallo.
I used to rent an apartment from a guy named Gallo.
Oh, shit.
Gallo was actually friends with Billy Zabka.
Oh,
and
that's right.
Now Billy Zabka's in Cobra Kai.
Dude, incredible.
And what's crazy is, here's what's crazy about Billy Zabka, man. So he was being interviewed about the Cobra Kai project, and he was saying that through the years he's been offered a lot of different things. And he was saying, you know, some people came at me with different spoofs of the Karate Kid. Well, you know, I was one of those people.
Yeah.
And, you know, we almost made something happen, but maybe we can now, you know?
I think so.
Very
In fact,
interesting.
me
It's
think
top-
so.
It's top. Me thinks so as well. Me thinks. All right, so...
You know, it's so funny, like, this is, would you say 10 years ago you had your spoof?
More than that. Yeah, more than that.
Because I'm looking to see if this wraps up with the idea that we were talking the other day, where we got the 10-year, you know, we got the recycling of the 10-year turnaround kind of thing going on.
Certainly, we have a recycling effect. This is actually further than that, so maybe it's an even more.
No, a
profound...
precursor. Yeah, it's like one of the help move it along.
Actually the original idea was going to be a short film, and I thought of that in like early 2001, and then we, Rocco and I, we got the script written in 2005. We met Billy in 2002. It was really weird because Gallo, we were talking to him about that we had this karaoke movie idea, and Gallo is actually the Southern California karaoke champ, which was really weird. And then we told him it was going to be this kind of like a little bit of a spoof on the Karate Kid, and he said, well, you know, I actually know Johnny Lawrence.
Oh my God.
He's one of my best friends.
Dude.
And we ended up, and the weirdest part about it was, to just bring this sucker full circle, is that we ended up meeting Billy at a karaoke club.
Oh,
at
of course.
At Cozy's Karaoke.
God.
And he was really kind of pumped up about the idea, but you know, I'm happy for him. He had us over by his place, and he was a nice guy, and I'm happy that the Cobra Kai thing is doing so well. I haven't even watched it yet, though, I'll confess.
I gotta say, it's awesome. It's so cool. My buddy has, one of the Outlet Crew guys has it, and so I use that login, and I've been watching it. I gotta tell you, it's so fun, because it is just like, it's got an 80s movie vibe. They have flashbacks. They put pieces of the movies into the TV show as flashbacks. It's phenomenal.
It's pretty crazy. I did see some of the...
Dude, the way that it's edited and everything, the music.
Oh. And you know, it's cool because John Hurwitz is behind that, and of course...
Oh, he is?
Well, yeah, it's him and the Harold Kumar guys that are doing it.
I didn't know that.
And Hurwitz, you know, of course, we're friends on Facebook, and the whole, you know, Hi Amsterdam thing. You know, it all comes full circle. And
I love
on
it.
Facebook, you know, I'm friends with Billy, and I'm friends with Hayden and John.
Jeez.
And, you know, hey, kitty cat. Yeah, so it's good. All right, we're at the Casa now.
We are at the Casa. So we will talk more later.
It's great, you know, folksy kind of like very melodic. I mean, that, of course, they're also just amazing. I mean, they're fucking amazing. Those guys were incredible. You know, and all that stuff was, you know, people might take that as lightweight stuff, but it's some of the best. It's some of the best stuff ever done. It's just that it spawned a genre that got shitty. You know, all the disco stuff. Because it becomes like this thing where people just look at the elements. It's kind of like when Nirvana came along, and Nirvana had these loud, slamming songs that with the heavy drums and the guitars and the screaming, but it was melodic. You could take Nirvana and you could play it in an elevator like Muzak. But everybody else that came along, well, I mean, I'd say Soundgarden was great too, and Stone Temple Pilot. But there was a ton of shitty, you know, grunge bands that just came along and just were loud.
So they looked at, just like you were saying, just those elements, and they try to think, oh, well, that's what makes the magic, right? Because they're looking at, like...
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, I like with disco, oh, it's 4 to the floor, and it's we're going to use these instruments, and it's got this kind of groove. And you just put out a bunch of those kind of songs, but the top line melodies and the craftsmanship of those songs, like, dude, the Bee Gees, it holds up. You could do any of those songs in another style, and they work. They don't need to be disco. They don't need to be. You know, you could turn them into something else, and, you know. And that's just like that. Or people just think that they can. I mean, it's making me think of Eminem, right? Well, when he had a line in one of his songs, and he's like, 20 million other white rappers emerge, or whatever, you know, like, assuming that there was going to be this big rush of white rappers because, you know, Elvis came along, he did the rock and roll thing, and, you know, and then a bunch of, you know, kind of white people came along and did rock and roll. But it's interesting with hip-hop, nobody can really do what Eminem does. So that was kind of funny. Like he didn't, like, it's really weird.
Well,
you know?
to be fair, I think Snow came pretty close.
Informer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was...
You know, sit down, my Snow, Uncle Blam.
Yeah, he was cool. He was from Canada.
Oh, wow.
Which great name if you're from Canada.
Yeah, it is.
You know, open up the door, look around and go, hey, I got a rap name.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's white.
Yeah.
But, we're going to be caught up in some traffic, Bubba.
So Eminem decided he thought that maybe there was going to be a big influx of more...
Yeah, of that, but
rappers.
It really hasn't happened. You know what I mean? It really hasn't happened. Because I think that Eminem, culturally speaking, he's a black kid. I mean, you know, he just comes from an authentic place with it, you know, and his work ethic and his talent, like, it takes serious hours to get that good. And, no, I mean, don't get me wrong, though, there's a ton of, like, underground, you know, and Eminem was underground. There's a ton of underground, you know, white talent, you know, white rap talent, but, you know, Eminem somehow pulled off this thing, you know, with Dre coming on board, where it was pop. But it is kind of strange. As much as I love Eminem, his stuff doesn't hold up well, which is weird. And I think that's because he just pop culture referenced so much that it's just so dated.
Oh.
You know, Britney Spears and
right,
calling out all the NSYNC. It's just so, like, it's so super dated.
That makes sense.
That a lot of his stuff doesn't hold up as well as I thought it would back in the day. It just really hasn't, really. I mean, I still listen to it, but it's kind of a funny thing. He's sort of a kind of zeitgeist type of rapper. Like, he'd be in the moment with some kind of current news event and just rap about it, whether it was Marilyn Manson or somebody, you know, getting under his skin, Christina Aguilera or something. And all that stuff, you know, I mean, imagine if you were like a young kid, you'd come across it, and it might be an interesting, almost like archival thing, like, oh, who are those people he's talking about?
Yeah.
And they're fun songs, but as incredible. I mean, he was the top earning music artist of the well, he's the top earning music artist, I think, of the 21st century. I'm pretty sure. He was the top selling hip hop artist for sure for, you know, the first decade of the century. But I don't know if he holds up, you know. It's kind of weird.
Do you think maybe he has an alter ego that's...
I think Tupac holds up better than Eminem. But I think Eminem is a much better rapper. Like, a much better rapper. But Tupac's songs feel timeless. Almost like they're like these... I mean, I think there's actually courses taught in college about Tupac and Tupac's lyrics and songs.
Interesting.
The cultural importance of what he did. But, yeah. Okay, well, we are.
So, do you think it's because Eminem was using so many pop culture references that's why he's kind of frozen in time? He's kind of given him, it's like a time capsule that's just kind of like there. It'd be similar to like, let's say, oh gosh, what's his name? The Frank Sinatra guy, the recent guy. Oh God, Tony Bennett. It'd be like him throwing in culture references, like his old songs all being about, I don't know, Three Stooges or whatever was going on back then.
Yeah, no, totally. That's totally what it would be like. I just had an interesting thought about Eminem. I want to explore this.
Yeah.
Here's the strange thing. He used to catch a whole lot of hell from the left politically, for the things he would say, gays and against women, and and he used to catch all this crap, and then he sort of did a little PR thing with Elton John and tried to settle that, but there was still like this big, pushback against him from the left, and it's just funny now because he decides to go out and he does a bunch of stuff about Donald Trump. And now all of a sudden he's like this champion of the left, and it's just kind of weird. It's like these same people 10 years ago really hated him. And I just think it's kind of funny how he's kind of chasing down sniffing out the zeitgeist. Like, well, pretty easy target, And yeah, he's super clever, but that's kind of like an easy target. It's kind of an easy win. It's low-hanging fruit. Like, he used to be the rebel guy, and then now he's sort of lined up with more of the popular kind of sentiment. And it's very weird to me, like how he made that shift. So I don't know. I just made that just
the low-hanging sentiments.
That sounds like could you crack the window a little? I know for sound, but we need a little crossflow where I'm going to.
Low-hanging sentiments.
I'm wearing I made an unfortunate sweater decision
out of foil.
No, they construct
one of those foil things that they give you at marathons afterwards.
I made an unfortunate sweater decision. I'm currently wearing a sweater that's 15 degrees too stupid for this trip, and sweltering a little. So I've opened up the windows. The sound might be affected, but I need to be comfortable and cozy for this next half hour.
However, to the Alaskians who are listening to this, it would be perfect in your region.
Is it Alaskians? I guess so. Alaskans. Probably Alaskians better.
It just sounds more vocabularic.
It does. Alaskian, it's like, it's a little more, what would that...
Is there something kind of exotic about it?
It is. It almost, puts a favorable spin on the icy region we know of as Alaska. Alaskian... It's a little more like luxurious. It's kind of like rich Corinthian leather.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
It makes you feel like Ricardo Montalban's ghost might be...
Rich Alaskan snow.
Might be riding an avalanche down the side with Hervé Villachet.
Hervé.
So Villachet, that poor little guy shot him.
Villachet.
Hey.
I've always loved that guy.
I do. I love him. And I'm going to do a little disclaimer. I don't want to speak ill of the gone, okay? But I will admit... The way that little man took himself out, he shot himself in the body, okay, with shotgun. Now, I don't know what, I'm imagining it was a sawed-off shotgun. That's not so bad, but I'm imagining his little arms extended, turning a shotgun onto his torso. Yeah. And there was recordings of it back in the day. This is getting a little dark for a podcast, but there was recordings that were on, like 2020 or something back in the day, and he was, help me. Like, it didn't happen quickly. It was sort of sad. But anyway, that's a dark thing. But Tattoo, rest in peace. Hervé Villachet.
Did you know that...
perfect chemistry, those two.
What is that guy? The little guy on Game of Thrones is going to play him in a
Peter
biopic.
Dinklage?
Oh, yeah, that guy, uh-huh.
Well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. How Mexican is he?
Okay, so where are the politically correct people right now who should be clamoring against why don't they cast a little Mexican?
Yeah.
Because I think they're whitewashing the role.
That's right around the corner.
That's right around the corner. The Villachet estate. The Villachet.
Well, and then there will be counter protests by little people going, "What? You're saying that just because you hate little people?" Right?
That's true.
There'll be counter protests.
Well, here's the thing. There's so many ways to slice a person.
And then counter protests on that with the Mexican little people going, "Well, wait a second."
There's so many ways to categorize people, and it seems very arbitrary. And the thing is, it's like as these little chunks, these little segments keep getting, divvied up. It's sort of like LGBTQRXY
Absolutely.
WHY2C3PO.
Yeah.
Robots will be in there. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, it all ends up with, the funny thing is this guy called that intersectionality. But it's all arbitrary where you decide to intersect those things. Well, what if you're a midget? What if you're an African American midget homosexual? Right. I mean, that would be a way to slice it. But here's the thing, man. Okay, people, listen up. The thing is, our culture was based on individuality, and when you keep slicing, what it ultimately comes down to, oddly enough, is you circle back to the person.
Yeah.
You're a one of one. When we're younger, we tribe up, we group up, we go in cliques. But as we get older, you become more and more singular because you've lived a life that becomes more and more yours and specific. When you're younger, you have more shared experiences, more collective things. But as you get older, you just start, defining yourself as a singular being. And so all of this nonsense of how to categorize people in collectivist thinking, I think, is nonsense. I don't know.
It's interesting with, because ultimately, like we were talking about earlier today, it's such a joy to be able to hang out with you and be able to talk about synchronicities, talk about these, what would be sometimes considered, outlandish ideas, right. So completely absurd, surreal, and okay, guys, reel it in, let's get back to reality. Okay, reel it in. So it's so nice to be able to just go completely.
That's kind of funny what you said.
Boundless, right?
Reel it in.
Oh,
R-E-A-L-N.
interesting. Reel it in. Which actually we're doing the biggest reeling in that anybody could ever imagine.
Right.
The farther out we get.
Well, what is real? Here's a jump off point for this next segment of our podcast. Uh-huh. What is real, right? I'm going to just rip this right off. I was talking earlier about Jordan Peterson, who's gaining traction in the media, and he's some people's hero and he's some people's villain, but he has this great sort of perspective on the idea of reality, and he sort of gave the example of a married couple, right? So you've been married to your wife for 25 years, and you've had this really happy marriage, and it's been very satisfying to you, and you've had trips together, and you've had children, and you've really built a life together, and it's really been a special journey for you. And then let's say that you find out that she's cheating on you, right? And okay, that's a shock, right? Oh, you've seen this other guy. But let's say then you find out that not only is she cheating on you, but she's been cheating on you the entire time, right? Well, think about that now, okay? What is real? Because you hear people say this, they say, well, was the marriage even real? And it's not that crazy to say, you know what, it wasn't. Well, now what has to happen is you have to reconcile 25 years of your whole existence as you're living in a false narrative. And that's a tough thing tough thing to stomach. Now, so what is real? What is that? What is going on there? Okay, because that's not a material reality. And I think that's where Jordan makes a good case against materialism is, the materialists are like, well, reality is this sort of concrete stuff. Well, maybe not, because we live in a psychological space.
Yeah.
And it's a Carl Jung kind of thing where he's like, we don't have ideas. Ideas have us.
Yeah.
We're captivated, and this man is captivated by the idea of his marriage. And that idea is real enough to give him peace and to give him happiness. And when that's torn apart, it's a complete betrayal, and he's literally been disintegrated. His life's been evaporated. What a strange thing. It's no different. How is that any different than a building coming down? Right? Your whole life comes apart. You go, that's no different than a building coming down. So, that's an interesting argument about reality.
It really is, because then it really sits you back in the driver's seat of choice. What reality do you want to choose to believe? As you're saying, no matter where you're going. Well, as the old phrase goes, wherever you go, there you are. My Uncle Arnie loved saying it. Wherever you go, there you are. Okay. And so that psychological space, you're taking that psychological space with you wherever you're going. Right. So it's so funny because those who are saying, well, reality is what's concrete, well, as Dude would say, well, that's just your opinion, man.
Right.
Right? So maybe to another person, The most real thing to me is the imagination in my brain, you
Right.
know? Now, who's the author and who's the judge of saying this one is actually more of the real thing than that one? Because then that person who's the judge of it is actually, that's subjective as well, because then they're basing it on whatever reality. And then what? You got to go down the rabbit hole and find out where their belief system is based on. Oh, did he listen to a lot of, oh, does he have credentials? And, it's like, listen, we are, everybody's living in some sort of delusion.
Right.
It's just,
And it's
which
sort of
delusion?
necessary, right? It's a necessary delusion.
Yeah, whether it's the 9 to 5 stuck in a cubicle delusion, whether it's a artist staying, at home painting all day delusion,
Well-
whether it's the, taking care of animals all day delusion, whatever the thing is.
Yeah, well, the thing is that we have to sort of have a delusion by necessity, meaning as you're looking at the world, it needs to be in a fairly low resolution so that you can handle it. In other words, it's like if you actually processed all the information around you, look at this, we're right now, by the way, we're driving south on the 405, and if you look around this 405, there's a lot going on here right now.
Yeah.
But in order for me to kind of stay the course, I've got to really only concern myself with some key variables. And so our perception of reality kind of stops at a lower resolution, another JPP term, but I love that. But if we wanted to go deeper, we could. Like I could get into what goes into the bumper of that car.
Oh,
and
right.
What goes like you could
Yeah.
go in, and that is also actually there. It's just that we're not.
Right.
So, and the other sort of thing that we need, sort of evolutionary wise, is this. Why negative? It's kind of like why negative news commands a lot of attention, because really for survival we have to. A few things could kill us, right? It's like, so we're sort of programmed to be on a bit of alert for something that might be negative. So, when you have a headline that says, this additive in your food could give you cancer.
Yeah.
You're going to click on that because, well, what the hell is it? I don't want cancer.
Yeah.
Whereas I might say, well, this food could, give you more energy. You'll be like, well, okay, I know how to get more energy. Maybe you got like 7 other ideas for that. But something that might kill you or something that might hurt you, you have to pay attention to. And so we take safe routes a lot because if I drive the same way to work every day and I didn't die, I want to repeat not dying, so I take the same route. And it starts to carve a groove. And we take the same route in many things that we choose to do. Things we say, beliefs we have, because, we go, 100% of the time I haven't died from doing it. Well, think about that. So people are stuck in so many grooves because, as far as they're concerned, it's worked so far.
Yeah.
And it really isn't until they're doing something that might threaten their own existence that they might want to change. So to voluntarily go outside your comfort zone is a bit, you're bucking a little bit of nature, but at the same time, you're a pioneer, you're an explorer. Nothing great has happened without exploration. Lewis and Clark, you have to be
That's
willing.
the only way you discover stuff is by exploring.
And you're having, and so the stories, the archetypes, and what I've also learned through JPB is this idea of sacrifice is as old as time, right? The Bible, Cain and Abel, and these things. Job waiting around. When you're willing to sacrifice for a bigger reward. There's something magical in that. When you're willing to stay within your, stick to your guns, and hold your integrity, it's almost like you will get rewarded for that sacrifice almost every time. It's really bizarre. You can take the big prize now and maybe sell your soul a little, or you could sort of stick to the things that bring you that give you that meaning. And when you're there with that meaning, you know you're there. I think everybody knows. Hey, that guy was playing a mean dashboard drum, by the way.
Oh, good.
Anyway, very cool to see somebody just whapping along on the dashboard, playing a nice lick.
Yeah.
But that's sort of where meaning is at. When you just know that that's the right thing you should be doing, not because of some financial reward, but then oddly enough, when you do that kind of stuff. Seems like the financial rewards sort of find their way to you.
Yeah, it's like a byproduct that
it is a natural.
Only comes to you because you're not looking for it, huh? It's like, hey, pay attention to me now.
Right,
It ends
exactly.
up becoming this interesting.
Absolutely, and what are you willing to sacrifice? And because sacrifice is this strange thing about not knowing. You know, because you go, well, I'm pretty sure if I do this, there might be a payoff, but you're not sure because it's the future, right? You don't know. So there's also another part of this whole comfort zone thing, because people live in the moment hedonistically sometimes. When we say in the moment in this context, meaning sort of like a slave to your desires, which is a different thing than being present. That's a very different thing. Because I feel like if you're present, say, working on an art piece that's going to turn into a big mural, you're not just quenching some kind of like sugar fixation, you know, licking a salt lick, or just having like cheap sex. You're doing something with the idea that this bigger picture, in this case the mural, quite literally, is going to come together. But you don't have a guarantee that it will. And that's kind of what the same idea of being a pioneer is. You don't know, but you're pretty damn sure it still matters to stay on that course. And that's why telling the truth matters. And that's what art is. If you tell the truth, it might hurt you in the short term. You might say something that rubs someone the wrong way. But you got to bank on that. You got to put those truth coins in the bank, because you can cash in on the truth later. You live your life of truth, you get rewarded with a big truth prize. What do you think about that?
That's awesome.
Riff on that idea.
I like that. Well, then what's interesting too, like if we truly are following our intuition, like carving the path, so to speak, and exploring and following our intuition, and the more we trust that, no matter what, we're not there won't be anxiety, there won't be worry, there won't be anything if you're completely fine with following what that calling is, and you stay the course with it. Now there's no like, oh geez, I really hope it turns out right, or oh gosh, I'm working really hard at this. No, none of that stuff even has to enter the equation then, because now it's like it becomes this thing of like you're actually truly creating your future. And
Buckminster Fuller, the best way to predict the future is to design it.
Oh God, that's so brilliant. And that goes right along with the idea of creating the art that you want to see in the world. Because if that's the case, if you're creating the art that you want to see in the world, well then there's no outside authority telling you whether something's shitty or not. You're just going, okay, you know what, am I okay with this? Am I fine with where it wants to lead me?
Right.
And if you go easy on that and go, and be gentle with it and go, okay, you know what, I'm going to let it take me where it wants to go. Holy moly, now we've opened up the universe to be able to offer us so many wonderful surprises and circumstances that come our way.
We got to keep going, because I'm paying attention to a little exit coming up. So.
Oh yeah, okay, actually, let me pause this now before we get a phone call coming in.